Hi everyone, I'm Bill Riley, and I'm working to change the face of St. Patrick's Day across the world. It's an adventure I deeply believe in. It's about addressing a problem that affects all of us. But I can't do this alone. I need your help. 2 years ago, on St. Patrick's Day in New York, I was standing outside of St. Patrick's Cathedral as the parade was going by up on Fifth Avenue. There were legions of great marching bands in full regalia, all proud, all Irish, all in step. And out of the corner of my eye, I noticed this kid, about 22, feeling absolutely no pain, with all of his friends, each of them with a can of beer in their hand. And this one kid had a t-shirt on that said, "St. Patrick's Day today, hungover tomorrow." So I smiled and I went up to him and I said, "Gee, that's a pretty far out t-shirt. Where'd you get that?" And he said, "Oh, I got it in my local mall in New Jersey. They sell 1 million of them. Isn't it cool?" So I stood there for a moment and a light bulb went off.
Now, contrary to popular belief, booze does not have to necessarily be a part of St. Patrick's Day celebrations. McGee Hickey found a place where revelers are deliberately sober.
It was a sold-out crowd at Regis High School with some familiar faces telling their stories.
I remember who I insult today, and I can wake up on the 18th of March knowing who I did insult.
It's the brainchild of William Spencer Riley.
You know, we can do so much more about this day if we really focus on the depth of the culture of St. Patrick's Day.
And the Consul General of Ireland was at the event, and he's hoping this sober St. Patrick's Day event becomes an annual one here in New York City. We are live on the Upper East Side at the end of the parade route. McGee Hickey, Pix 11 News. Back to you, Katie.
Welcome to the first annual, I'm proud to say annual, Sober St. Patrick's Day.
That 22-year-old kid really stuck with me. And then I thought about his younger brothers and sisters and what they must have thought of the t-shirt, and how they were just itching to go out next year and get drunk themselves with their 14 and 15-year-old friends. And then I thought about his parents and what they must have thought when he walked out the door that day wearing that t-shirt. You see, I almost lost a family member to addiction 8 years ago. I've been there. It's frightening. So it was at that moment, with that drunk kid, that sober St. Patrick's Day was born. I immediately thought to myself, is this what this day is really all about?
There's a little bunch of people here in New York who are attempting to change the horrible image of the drunken Irishman and the drunken Irish woman on St. Patrick's Day. And so they are having a sober St. Patrick's Day party. So remember that if you want to support changing the image of the drunken Irishman. It's about time we change that image, isn't it?
Well, I was looking for something that we could do with the kids that wasn't, crazy, and as soon as we heard about this, we got our tickets. Like, this is what I've been looking for.
Why can't we have a rip-roaring, alcohol-free, family-friendly event for people who stopped celebrating St. Patrick's Day? Or for people like you and me who are just sick and tired of being hijacked by the insanity? Or for the tens of thousands of people in recovery from addiction and their families? And please know, if you're not in recovery, we're not against having a drink on St. Patrick's Day. We're just against using St. Patrick's Day as an excuse to get drunk.
As Hugh Carey once said, the Irish march up fifth and stagger down third.
So last year in New York, we lit a match that has since turned into a bonfire. People have barraged us on our website. Check it out at soberstpatricksday.org. We now want to grow this idea beyond New York to cities both here and abroad.
So it gives me great pleasure to introduce the Irish Minister for Social Protection, Joan Burton.
I have been really impressed by this initiative of the Sober St. Patrick's Day. So well done to the people who've developed this idea, and I do hope it travels back home across the Atlantic to Ireland.
Isn't it a great thing that this wonderful idea of a sober St. Patrick's Day is spreading all over the world? And we want you to support it. So we hope to see you there in Belfast, St. Patrick's Day 2013.
I hope you'll contribute to make this year's party in New York even bigger and better, or even more important, to help us with our year-round work to grow this initiative, perhaps to your city too.
This is probably the most important event since St. Patrick's Day parades started.
We're in this for the long haul, because we want to reclaim the true spirit of the day, particularly for young people. Whatever you pledge will make a difference, both for this year's event and for our year-round work going forward. So help us make that difference with Sober St. Patrick's Day. We like to say, a new party, a new way.